I'm down here at the ECC in Zagreb, and with me I have Dan. Dan, can you tell me a little about yourself, where you come from, and how you are involved with the 9H project?
I'm from England. I've been gaming since more than 20 years. Square-based gaming for 20 years and round-based gaming before that. I was in Cyprus for a couple of years where there was basically no gaming. There was some magic and that was it. So I sort of had some time out when the Great Schism happened, and so since I've then moved back to the UK, and so I got involved as Empire community support because Empire was the army I was by far most comfortable with and most known for playing in 8th. And then from there, I've gone to get more involved internally, and I'm now a member of the rules team, or the temporary rules team as we are at the moment.
And how is the to work on the boost team? Tell me about that.
So it's really interesting actually, because I think one of the great things that I really like about the project is people bring their real life, their day job, their expertise from that to the project. So, I'm a scientist, so quite often I will start babbling about some numbers for something or some probabilities or something like this. Or someone like Ollie, who's Night One on the forum, who's an advisor for the rules team, he has a lot of experience working within companies and how they manage things and how they manage products and this. And it's a completely different mindset to anything I've ever done or worked with, or even anyone I've ever really chatted to before, meeting people through the project. So you really see people bring different areas of expertise, and Adrian on the rules team is obviously sort of seems to have a very good theoretical grounding. I don't know if he's actually an academic to game design or something like this, but he seems to have a very strong theoretical grounding, and you start from these principles and go. And then of course you also have different gaming cultures. So something I didn't appreciate before I first came to ETC is different countries play games differently. They approach them differently. I mean, yes, of course, every individual is different, but there are kind of trends. And so it's also interesting for me to see, I'll be like, oh my God, this thing in England is beating everyone. And everyone's like, that's rubbish. Why can't you beat that? It's a really interesting mix of where people come from with the gaming cultures, the metas they play in, the people they play with, their real life job. So it makes it quite interesting, actually. Of course, there's disagreements, and that is there is drama because we are humans and we are doing a human thing, and and I think something that's not appreciated enough is that as much as we'll sit there with the laser and the arc, and right, I'm a millimeter out of your charge distance, and is this in a flank? That's how we play the game, and so people will look at it and walk past the table and think, this is really logical, but it's not. It's an emotive hobby. At the end of the day, that's why we all do it. It's an emotive hobby. We care. We like seeing the toy soldiers. We like painting the toy soldiers. We like pushing the toy soldiers around. And so, of course, people get emotional about this, right? That's the point. If everyone discussed it like robots, that would be a bad thing, right? So it's very interesting.
So what kind of rules team member are you? There's some different types. Some who want to streamline a lot, some who maybe are a little more in the middle.
I can probably dance about a bit compared to some people because I like to think I can normally see the reasons for doing the different thing. I think for me, the thing I probably am most different to other people on is I really like rules that I read it and I go, that's cool. Right. I will not say anything about the current Demons book because I'm not supposed to, but I will say that when the rules team reviewed that, there was a rule that I was just shouting, and it was shouting with glee. There was a model with a rule that I'm like, that's so cool. I don't care whether we can balance it. I don't care about this. I want to see that on the table, and I want to see that thing happen because I think it will be awesome. So I think probably if I stand out as one thing, is I want those things. I want that rule that you just do something and people are like, that's amazing. That's crazy, that's different, or even on a smaller scale, rules that are What I call evocative, I'm not a trained game designer, so I don't probably use words the right way for the thing. But when I say evocative, I mean something that kind of conjures up the background, so I feel like I've learned something about the world. So with the Empire book, when we were first doing it for 204, the Empire of Sunstone, for 2.0, we put the Beast Hunter rule on the Rangers, right? And it's a really small rule. They get, when they're shooting at beasts, they get lethal strike on their shots. So, that's what, maybe a third of units in the game at most, and only if you roll a 6, and a lot of boosts don't have any armor anyway. So it's not, it's not going to completely change the game. But I think it really conjures up the feel of, these slightly more elite Empire guys. They live in their village, and they protect their village, and they live in the wilderness around the village, and they hunt the beasts. So I really like rules like that conjure up something about the background, or do something crazy.
It's good to hear. How many years have you been playing? And how did you come into the hobby?
So, when I was 7-ish, so we're talking early to mid 90s, maybe 94, something like that. I would always go shopping with my parents to a big shopping complex, a shopping mall, and there was a Games Workshop there, and we would go past, and we'd go past, and we'd go past. And one day we went past, and they did an intro game for really my dad more than me. My dad likes getting into a new hobby every week, and that was it. And we bought into it, and we really enjoyed it. So that was the second edition 40k starter set back then. 40 or 20 Gothorks stood like this, and 40 Gretchens stood like this, and the cardboard dreadnought, and I just found it magical, and I was hooked from reading the books to painting. I got into later, and it's still not my favourite thing. I like finishing painting a model. The bit to get to the finished model I don't like so much. But yeah, so that was 40k, and we got into that, and then we didn't really have anyone to play, so we played a bit at home, and there was a bit of a lull, and then a friend of mine got me back into it in 97. Got back into 40k, and then a year later started Warhammer Fantasy. Went to when GW did the grand openings. I got all my birthday money, so I was getting 3 for 2 on everything, and I went and I bought a silver, then Wood Elf army, and it was very different then. So I had lots of archers stood holding their bow like this, and lots of metal glade riders on plastic horses, and a tree man model that's just about big enough for a treekin or a thicket beast these days. So, so that was how it started. So I guess I should say as well, so from 97 to 2004, when I was at my high school, my grammar school, I ran a school club. So you were allowed to do that if you had to get a staff parent permission, and people had to know you were on site. But so we had anything from 2 people turning up to 12 people turning up for 7 years. And most of it was just let people organise their own games, but we did a couple of silly participation battles.
So, what are you doing at the EDC this year?
So I've just finished playing the singles for Ninth Age. That's all I'm doing this year. I actually had 3 teams try and persuade me to play for them, but I've had a really busy year and lots going on, and I was just like, I only booked my flights for the singles event a week ago, so it was all just like, I'll just wait and see if I can go, and then kind of last minute I decided, enough was freed up in my schedule that I can get there, and I'll go and play the singles. And so I brought a silly list with 51 models mounted on boars, and a couple of bits around it. So it was a bit of a silly list, but I've had 5 fun games, and hopefully my opponents enjoyed playing against a stupid ball list. So yeah, it's been good fun.
But you have been on the England team before, because I can remember I played you back in
2014.
Yeah,
2014 we played. Yeah,
yeah.
That was my last 8th edition event, actually, because that was just before I moved to Cyprus. So I've actually played for England twice, and I've also played for Australia. Because when I was in Cyprus, the ETC that year was in Greece, and one of the Australians had to drop out at the very last minute, and he was an Empire player, and they knew I was in Cyprus and nearby, and they knew I played Empire, because of course we play the Ashes every year, so we know the Australians well. And so I sort of got this message through, the grapevine that, Dan, could you get to Greece and play an Empire Army? I'm like, okay, at this point in my life, I played like one game of Ninth Age in my life because there are no players inside. So I was like, if you're that desperate, I can get there and we'll see. And so that caused untold controversy because I then played for the Australians in the Ashes and won, with the result that the Australians won the Ashes, I think, for the first time. So I was basically, according to Twitter, I was a traitor and all this. But actually, the year before I first played for England, I was good friends with the guy who was the captain of Canada. He has dual citizenship, the guy Tom Harris. So I actually played for Canada. So I actually played for 3 different teams of the ETC. I don't know what that tells you. Maybe I have no loyalty, but for me, it was a chance to go and play.
It's all about the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So, can you name me 3 things you like about the 9H and maybe 3 things you don't like?
Oh, that's interesting. So, in the game or broader?
Yeah, just broader. Yeah.
So, one of the things that's awesome is I think the fact that it's this done by people in their spare time. I've talked about people bringing their expertise to it, and the conversations I have internally with people bringing expertise and people just donating time, and it doesn't even need to be staff members. Like the other day, there was no translation of the scroll. I think the 9th Age scroll, which is really cool. People should go and check that out. There's some really good stuff in there. Most of the things people say that 9th Age doesn't have is in the scroll. Go and read it. Plug over. But there was an issue that I think hadn't been translated into German, and someone just translated it. A community member, and I tried to say to him that's a really cool thing he's done, and he sort of brushed it off. But for me, that's amazing that people will just turn up and contribute and deliver. So that's a really good thing. What's easier? Should I do 3 good things first? So another good thing is you can play with almost anything, and it's you as a player far more than the list, far more than any Games Workshop edition of any game, far more so from, I've dabbled in War Machine, to, in my opinion, far more so than War Machine. I can't comment on Kings of War because I've played it a bit and don't like it enough to comment, but like, I brought 51 baubles, right? And yes, several times I think my list was outmatched, but if you play well enough and you don't make mistakes and your opponent makes mistakes, you can still play the game, and that for me is a wonderful thing. I've been digging out my 6th edition armies, my 5th edition armies, so I've played a different army at each event this year that I've done, so this is now my 6th event and 6 different armies, right? And I've dug out those wood elves I was telling you about from 20 years ago, and I painted up 6 new models, and that was all I needed to paint up from a 5th edition one, and I can use it, and I don't need to paint an entirely different set of models to compete. So I think that's another really good thing in the 9th Age's favour. Trying to think doubtless I'll miss something, and afterwards I'll be like, oh, I should really have said that. I mean, of course, the fact that for me it saved my hobby. I dabble in some other systems. I dabble in, for example, 40k. I play X-Wing with my other half at home, but for me it was always square-based, rank and flank gaming, because intrinsically, if you have a unit with ranks and flanks, then maneuvering really matters, more so than in any skirmish game, right? It must matter, because fundamentally in the rules it tells you if you go into the side, all the rules are working your way. You get more guys attacking. This isn't Warhammer, this is 9th Age, this is general rank and flank. You get more guys attacking, the opponent gets less guys back, you get other bonuses in the rules. So it's always been that kind of square-based stuff for me, and frankly, when Warhammer died, I don't like Age of Sigmar. I'm sure it's a good game, I have no bones with it myself, it's not the game I want to play, in the same way that War Machine isn't the game I want to play. So it's really saved my hobby, actually, and at one point I thought I might basically stop wargaming, and I don't have to. So that is a massive personal thing for me, and sort of related to that is, we're sat in this hall and we've just had, I think close to 100 players in the singles tournament. We've got 36 countries playing in the teams tournament. So I'm walking around this room and there's people I know that I would never have met otherwise. So that the fact that it's kind of made or absorbed a community, or however you want to put it, and that community is growing in some places. We certainly want to grow it more, and you're just bringing these people together to play a game. So yeah, that's the good thing. Bad things, I would say the forum upsets me at times. Both internal staff stuff, but also externally. I think, naturally people come onto the forum to moan, and I think there can be a lot of. Don't get me wrong, I want criticism because criticism allows us to make the game better. But I think there's ways of delivering criticism, and there's some people deliver really good criticism and really thought out criticism. And even if it's not thought out, I don't mind. But as long as the delivery is reasonable, some of the negativity on the forum really upsets me at times. Actually, I have to kind of walk away from the computer, and I think that's a shame when it's a community thing that's brought it together. And I know people in the UK that won't use the forum because of they perceive it to be so toxic and so salty. And I don't know, maybe other forums are worse. I don't have a lot of knowledge, so that's certainly for me. I would say a bad thing. I think the nature of how the game is made means that there are compromises, and this can be a problem in design generally. I know, I think some people point at the Warriors book for that, our Warriors book, and that there's compromises. I actually think there's some really positive things in the Warriors book. I think, for example, that you can close the gateways with the Helm War and stuff like this. That harks back to what I was saying, the kind of rules I like. You can visualize that happening on the tables. So I think there's some really positive points, but I do think sometimes the kind of design by committee and voting, things have become a bit incoherent. And everyone has a different opinion, and that's normal. That's two things, isn't it? So I need another thing. Does anything jump to mind? No, I guess you could edit
some rule, maybe you will like.
I'm trying to think. I can say something controversial.
Yeah, do that.
I think the way the project handles points changes in the last few updates. There's been a lot of 5 points here, 2 points there, 1 point a model here. I have said internally that I think we should perhaps do that differently, and I get a lot of negative feedback about that. I've had feedback about that here off people I've never met before. So this isn't my local group in the UK. This is people from other countries that I've never met before. We're chatting away, and they find out on the rules team, and they're like, "Why are you making this 5 points here? Where you should look for the stuff that's obviously a problem and shift it by more." So I guess that's a criticism, and I've been involved in those teams, so I'm sure I'm as much to blame as anyone else. But I think we need to shift away from that 5 points here, 5 points there. I think we're now meddling with things inside our own error bars, and it's just messy now. So there we go. There's something controversial for you.
Have you made a rule you're proud of? Maybe you came up with an idea for a rule.
So when we did the Empire book, there was a few things I kind of directions I tried to push. So there's an item that's mostly my idea is the Death Warrant, where if the attacking model hits, then the parents and court get battle focus attacking that. And that was one, to give battle focus in the book outside flagellants, but also I felt it really played into the theme of Empire characters being leaders, not killers, and it being about how they boost the troops. But it also meant that you could kind of boost your state troops without necessarily taking the Arcane Engine or the Planet. So I was really chuffed with that one, and when that went through, and I think what's nice is I've seen it used quite a lot, but not in every disc. So I think that's a nice place for an item to be in a rulebook. So that's quite a cool one. Accurate on the being the order that's given to the shooting units was I did push for that one. I didn't have a vote at the time, so I had to persuade 2 out of the 3 voting members to vote for that one. Perhaps if there's a list with 60 plus crossbowmen or handgunners here, then maybe someone will dislike me for that rule. But I felt it allowed. So the way I see these units is they're very immobile. They've got very clear weaknesses, and a lot of the forum wanted to be able to be quick to fire and ignore a wheel. But I think for me, and I think for you guys at the time, and how when you were on the rules team at the time, saw Empire, it should be static shooting. They stand there in ranks and they make a battle line, and that's how they work. They don't turn and shoot the guy there. That's not how the battle line works. And so it's like we wanted to make them playable because no one was using them, but at the same time we wanted to, and this was me, so the people on the forum can hate me specifically for this, I wanted to keep those weaknesses. I wanted to have it so that, if the enemy got around you, you're in trouble. You can't just turn and shoot them. or if you could make them need to move to get into range or something like this. So I really pushed for that as the solution, and I think it's worked. I mean, arguably it's worked perhaps too well. There are a lot of very shooting-based Empire lists, so maybe we did talk about whether we needed to cap the number of models. But I think introducing that rule, suddenly you see these Empire armies with ranks of crossbows and handgunners, which to me looks like an Empire battle line, and we've never, to my knowledge, I've never seen that in tournaments before. So that was mostly a success, I think.
How do you think England will do this year at ETC?
Well, you're going to record me saying that, are you? It's an interesting one. I think I know the team themselves have said we're not taking it so seriously this year. So there's, a few lists of what people want to use and stuff like this. A few players that haven't been able to play much, and a few new players on the team as well. So I think it will not be England's best year, but I think certainly for the new people, the experience will be very valuable. I mean, the Ashes is going on at the moment. I don't know how that was going. I think there were a couple of games that were looking quite dicey for England, so it'll be interesting to see. I think there are a few last minute list changes as well, or certainly one, which of course can always be a bit unsettling coming into the event. So I don't think it'll be England's best year, but don't get me wrong, there's some really strong players on the team, and if people deliver at the right time, then I don't think they'll do badly, put it that way. But I think a podium's a little bit of a stretch this year.
Do you have anything else you want to share about the Lineage?
Get involved. Apply to be staff, or even don't. Just if you're in the community and if you're like, I think the project should do this, do it on a really small scale and show it to us, and then maybe we can make a position for you. I keep saying this. I'm always engaging with people on the forum, and they say you should do that. I'm like, okay, do it. We're not stopping them, right? Something that I want to do and that other people want to do is have a wider feedback network. So it's not just this forum, because like I say, some people will avoid it. So if we can get a bigger network of clubs across multiple countries where we're getting lots of feedback from players who play in different ways, who want something different from the hobby, who play at different skill levels and different methods, we can really get all that feedback and then really see more than just the small bit on the forum, really see what the community looks like and what the community wants. So anyone that wants to get involved with doing that, start getting in touch, start building a network in your country, get in touch with us. That's something I would love to see happen. And that can all happen without any formal sanction from the project, right? And then if you can make it happen really well, tell me, and I'll take it internally, and it'll be a wonderful thing.
Thank you for talking to me, and thank you for doing a great job at the Lineage.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Cheers.